If Michelle could wear anything in life, she would wear a tutu non-stop every day.
And I teach kids piano.
Yes, and she loves Frozen, and she just likes to bake things. And
I work in a flower shop.
Yeah, and she loves princesses and glitter.
In order for us to feel like we're a part of a community, we have to feel like other people understand us.
There's more to our lives and our future than what we ever could imagine.
Be prepared to share your story with someone that you trust and tell them how you really feel.
Well, everything that is happening to teach you something.
I had said for weeks leading up that I was going to win.
Yeah, we did.
We should crack open the wine.
I thought you'd never ask.
I've been waiting for this. Is the reason I'm doing it.
Ready?
Oh, there it is. That's 4 months of putting up with each other as prisoners in a cell in a very glorified
I think
cell.
we did it great.
We did
a great job.
Considering, I think we've spent more time together in lockdown than out of lockdown, if that makes sense. Because when did you guys move here? Like, it was maybe a month before?
7 months ago for me.
Yeah, you'd literally known me.
So we've been
a week.
A month after me. Yeah.
So we've been in lockdown more than what we haven't been in lockdown together. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Do you know what living with you two feels like?
Oh, God.
A very quiet and boring life.
Serene, zenful.
Cheers, we made it.
Cheers! Ting-a-ling-a-ling. Woo!
No, it feels like...
Be careful what you
like
say now, Brendon.
You're choosing your words very carefully, I'm noticing.
No. It's lovely what I'm about to say. It's like I'm living in a permanent yoga retreat.
Really?
Yeah, because you guys don't stop talking about yogic stuff, meditation stuff, Reiki stuff.
Yeah,
like
we're wellness, baby. Woke and wellness.
I'm very inspired by both of you, and there's no accident as to how we all ended up together.
I have to agree with that too.
Thank you, universe.
I have to agree with that too. We are very soulfully matched in a great way.
It was just the best dynamic, I think. I couldn't have asked to do lockdown with anybody. Like, we're a bunch of strangers going into lockdown, really, and we've come out as like a little family.
But have you ever been to a yoga retreat before?
No,
Yes.
I actually haven't, but I should.
Yes, I have. It's
What's your experience at a yoga retreat?
I
Michelle?
did it 10 years ago in Bali. It was a graduation present from uni to myself. And
Nice.
I went with other girls from uni, and it was just it was very wholesome. It was they had this like beautiful vegan vegetarian menu. I'm not vegan, but
I was for the week.
for that week I was. But everything they grew everything locally. It was in Ubud, and it's actually we went there. The retreat was, I reckon, a month after they filmed Eat, Pray, Love, and it was very close.
That's my favourite.
Very close to where they filmed Eat, Pray, Love. So the town in Ubud was still buzzing from having like Julia Roberts there and all the camera crew, 'cause a lot of them hadn't seen that side of, I guess, Hollywood. But to answer your question, yes, it was beautiful. We had like beautiful massages every day, and it's almost like you're floating, and it's just living life very simplistic. And one of the highlights for me there was one of the mornings we woke up very, very early, and they drove us to where the volcano is, and we did yoga on the balcony as we watched the sunrise over the volcano. And it was just, yeah,
that sounds amazing.
You gotta go, Kate.
Now I feel jealous though,
And
but
every
not in a good way. I
morning-
feel like envious.
No, it's great. It's like it's like an alternative universe. It's people like they've prepped themselves for some people months. They plan these things months in advance, and then when they arrive, it's like this release. So they all go in there, and then everybody from all walks of life just come together. And you get people who are maybe cancer patients, or people who are addicts, or people who are just
everyone had a
overworked.
story, which was amazing.
Yeah, I'd love that.
And I'm still friends with a lot of them on Facebook, and one was on Survivor a couple of years ago. And I mean, they weren't all Australians. There was Americans. Most of them were Australians, but they were from all parts of the world.
Usually all the backpackers are the ones working in the kitchens and that, because they do the exchange stay.
Yeah,
No, because
okay,
they
fair.
they have like exchange things, and they'll go and they'll do all the the serving. It's like a job, but it's an exchange, so they get to stay there.
To stay there. Yeah,
They get to stay there. They get to do yoga. It's a great deal, really.
I was going to say, actually, might do that.
I'd love to do it, but I think like because I'm so close to where I live, you know, it's a lot harder to detach, you know, whereas
okay.
if I was in Central America, which I, you know, have been, it'd be heaps easier because like, oh, well, I got no commitments over here. I'll just do
me
it.
as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds like the dream.
But gee, time fly. Like how old was I? I think I was 20. Yeah. So I felt a huge growth in that 1 week because you just live very, very simply, and it opens you up to a whole new world and dimension. Whole new world. These two would have.
You've been on quite a journey in the last year and a half with that too, haven't you? You know, like a lot's changed since the pandemic for you, hasn't it, Michelle?
100%. It's been, just been a roller coaster of emotions, ups and downs, and because I, like many of us, like to be in control, and know what's happening, or and it's just this unknowing. I think it brings up a lot of fear and vulnerabilities, and like planning, and like not being able to control the uncontrollable, which for me has been a big lesson, and just surrendering and seeing what kind of shows up. And my life lived by an 8-week roster, and you slot your life in between. And I remember, I think, you know, when I was grounded from flying, it was just like, now what? What do I do with myself? And
So you're doing the international flights.
yeah, I was doing the international flight. So I think COVID hit us pretty hard because international borders have been closed since March last year, March 2020. So, and I'm not the type of person just to sit at home and just wait for those borders to open. And if I had been just sitting and waiting, I wouldn't have even imagined it would have been as long as it has been. But it's been an opportunity to explore different avenues and try new things and upskill, and just kind of live very wholesome. And I've never had so much sleep in all my life, and just got into, as you know, yoga, just mainly for my mind. I think yoga is so powerful, not just for the body, but it's a real mindfulness practice as well. And for me, I've always had a very busy and chatty mind because I'm always trying to go a million miles an hour and always thinking, I've got to do this. You know, your mental to-do
You mean
list.
like 1,000 kilometers
Yeah.
an hour?
Yeah. It's like mental. It's like blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
So for me, it's been a practice. Just to quieten that mind, and that's where meditation has come into play as well. So really learning to sit in stillness, and that's really helped kind of ground me in many aspects, and just I feel such a calmness from it. So I think before COVID, little things I might get frustrated over, and they might not be big things, but it would just get really frustrating. Now I just learned to not sweat the small stuff, which I don't know if you've read. That's a really good book too. If you haven't read it, Don't Sweat the Small Stuff.
I've heard of it. I haven't read it.
It's good. It's very easy read, and you can use it as like a little, just open it at any page and see what comes up. It just puts life in perspective, I guess, of what really matters and you can just breathe through it. That's a big thing, part of yoga too, breath work. And even if, I don't know, if you're feeling like a bit anxious or not worrying about little things, it's just, it always comes down to the breath, just taking, 4 breaths in, hold, 4 breaths out, and that can just have that calmness effect as well, just something so simple. So yes.
What were you going to say before, Kim?
Can't remember.
Sorry, I was just
when she talks, it's like okay, keep going. I'm just like
lost.
I feel like I'm watching a Disney movie.
I was literally just drinking my wine, like, what? She's so right.
Yeah, we always joke about like your profile of the.
Okay, so my wonderful housemates here.
we got to talk through it. So to be like,
have created me a Tinder profile blurb. I don't have Tinder, by the way. But
not yet. We've made her.
No, but if I did,
you're making all the guys out there jealous. Oh wait, she's on Tinder. Oh, is she?
No,
is she not?
but if I did, you tell our listeners.
Oh, where do we start?
What the blurb would be?
If Michelle could wear anything in life, she would wear a tutu, non-stop every day.
And I teach kids piano.
Yes, and she loves Frozen, and she just likes to bake things, and
I work in a flower shop.
Yeah, and she loves princesses and glitter. So we really want it to be...
Oh, I forgot my tiara.
And I like to cook.
Yeah. I just want to bake and make everybody happy.
Yeah.
Stop it. And tickle fairy dust. And
there we go, guys.
I
Quick
have
like and subscribe if you want to get in touch with Michelle Rose. That's just where it begins, ladies and gentlemen.
So that's the Tinder profile that is yet.
And so, Kim, what's the lockdown and all this stuff been like for you? I mean, you've had a year and a half of, well, a bit over a year and a half of a pandemic, but the last lockdown was pretty brutal. What's going on?
Look, I don't think anyone would have found it easy, especially because I was so far away from home.
Where are you from?
Manchester.
England. A lot of people would have picked the accent. But,
probably. Or they'll think I'm Irish.
You're just a Brit to me.
They always say it's you're just from overseas. You're just from overseas.
Yeah.
The first one was a little bit harder because I lived by myself.
Mm.
This one was obviously a lot easier because of you guys. Obviously, we had our challenges and our conversations and stuff, but I would never want to do it without yous because it's just so nice to have someone to come home to, and even, you know, our dinner nights and things like that. Whereas the first time it was very like, what am I going to watch on Netflix? What am I going to like read? And it just gets old. But I think it's been a really great time for growth. I think it's been good to step out of the rat race of the like non-stop, because I'm the same. I'm a million miles an hour too. And it's just been nice to slow down, stop, figure out what's going on in my head instead of like brushing past everything and what's next and work and going out and keeping up with like all social things and stuff. It's just been nice to kind of press a pause button. So even though it was a little bit of a struggle, it's been a blessing in disguise, really.
A good reset, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so the biggest difference for you this time was living with other people.
Yeah, a million
Because
percent.
I really feel for a lot of people who lived alone during the lockdown.
Yeah.
I mean, not seeing anyone. I mean, even you, Michelle, you went on that because you had to quarantine for that 2 weeks and just, you know, you did your juice fast and all that, and like to not see anyone or speak to anyone for that long, or, you know, or 3 or 4 months, it's pretty brutal. So, yeah, how did you manage through that time, you know, on your own in your last place?
I've got a really good set of friends. The only issue with like family and stuff is the time difference as well. So it definitely felt alone because it's not like you can just phone your mum at like dinner time and just chat with her while you're on the way home and things like that. You've got to really plan when it is and whether the times are like matched and stuff. But definitely my friends, I reckon. And at that time I was really stepping into my Reiki like practice and stuff. So my mind felt a little bit busy. A little bit too busy to really reflect in to actually speak to anyone about anything because I was too busy kind of unraveling things in my own head and like I was just on a little bit of a journey with myself. So I needed the social. I thought I needed the social, but really what I did need is the isolation, I reckon. Yeah.
So in that time you were able to actually really go through a lot of processes in your head.
Yeah.
But that has a bit of a time limit, doesn't it? Because sometimes if you're in that space too long, you tend to overthink things.
Yes, and I definitely went that way too. When I moved in here, I was like, I'm going to dive straight into all my spiritual work, like, and I was just going to use like the spiritual work as another bit of a like I would with drinking or like I was just going to do the same thing. But because I managed to find that balance, living with you two as well, like you're very, very spiritual, you're very like logical. It was nice to actually have the balance to realize where I was too over one side. So yeah, I do think there's a bit of a danger zone where you then end up like spiraling, where you're not actually, because I feel like you should work on it, process, and then implement. Work on it, process, and implement. And I feel like if it's just all the work, and all the unraveling, it turns into a bit of a tornado.
Yeah, but I love that, like, you do have to, like, you know, there's a part of life where you have an experience, right? And then you have a period where you have to reflect on that experience and make sense of it. And sometimes we don't make sense of it. And we tend to hold on to those longer. That's why like painful things like breakups and that tend to take, you know, or loss of a life or something, they take a lot longer. But then, you know, you have to kind of pick yourself back up and do your self-work. But then there's an implement part again. Yeah. To use it as your superpower. Yeah. I guess then you like use all your experiences plus the work you're doing for yourself. And we have an abundance of things like books and podcasts and all this awesome stuff to learn from. Between us, definitely. I listen to podcasts. I've read this book. I know, right? I was listening to a podcast the other day. And,
it's so funny. No, but I think the best part about living with you guys, I think there was one morning it was not even 7:30, 8 o'clock. And we all came downstairs exactly the same time to make a coffee. And it was just going to be, I just popped downstairs to make a quick cup of coffee. Anyway, was it like an hour and a half or 2 hours later, we are still there having a real, like, deep meeting. I can't even remember what the conversation was about.
I can remember.
It was a really deep conversation for like
7:30,
8 o'clock.
I do remember it.
Is it shareable? We had a few taboo topics.
Look, it was definitely, it was about breakups and like trauma responses and different people's perspectives in situations where you would only think of your own, if that makes sense. Like, for example, with the breakup that we were talking about, we dove into like, whoever it was, one of us was talking about how, you know, we thought that we'd done this and we thought that we'd done that, but then the other person said, oh, well, you know, that sounds like you're right, but then what about this person's perspective? And then it just turned into like this big, like,
yes, I do remember this.
Yeah.
And I remember saying like, whoa, this is a really deep conversation.
This
like
is always what
7:30
happens
in the morning.
Literally, as soon as we open our mouth, we go from talking about like Frozen to talking about like all of the psychological profiles of the characters.
And the way, the way the mind works. And
Elsa's such a manipulator.
I'm Team I like Anna.
I don't know, but we always do that, don't we? We'll be watching, like, even we'll be watching a movie and then you'll come in and you'll be like, what's this about? And I'm going, I'm just psychoanalyzing all of them. Like, it's not just like I'm watching a movie and enjoying it.
I think that's why I feel like you guys are my people, because whenever I watch any story, I mean, I just can't help but break down the meaning of all the characters. Yeah. That's why I even do podcast episodes on, you know, the Queen's Gambit or Squid Game, because I love to look at what it all means, and you guys are probably more into the Disney and other
Let me know when you do a podcast about Frozen, because I'd like
Look, I am a Disney fan, but I don't know.
I still haven't seen Frozen.
The cold never bothers me anyway.
You need to watch it. Everyone's watched it.
No, it's
just
so
to experience it.
It's good. And then Frozen 2 is really good too. And it's what I love about it's got a really good message. It's just,
Frozen 1 or Frozen 2 has a good message?
Both of them, I think.
Because I heard that there was some very skeptical responses about some of the Frozen movies.
I think because
that they went too far on the female, like, need no man sort of thing.
Yes and no. I think because they went a little bit left of field of what they've previously done. Like, I think Disney has, and that's why Disney's so successful. They have almost like formula, and they use the same formula.
Do you know what that formula is? It's called the Bible. Seriously,
you're right.
Disney
like you mentioned that, like the Lion King.
Every Disney
movie.
movie.
You could literally link anything to the Bible.
It's the biggest, most long-lasting piece of literature going on in the world. What, like, why wouldn't it be like? Why wouldn't the most popular things? Look at anything. Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, like all these things. Like, they have characters that represent biblical characters.
Okay, who's Frodo?
Who's Frodo? Well, he's the hero. He's the okay, so who is he in the Bible? Okay,
yes, that's what I'm trying to say.
He's Christ himself, and he sacrifices himself. You know, if you've seen Lord of the Rings, Frodo sacrifices himself at certain parts, and you know, it's like the hero's journey. We have that all the time, and you know, like, there's all other characters there. Like, Samwise was his little sidekick, which was like John the Baptist or something like that, and you know, then there's all these things with Cain and Abel, where, like, you know, Smeagol.
Yeah.
Smeagol, there's a scene where Smeagol has an evil and a good side. You know, when he talks to himself? Like, it's like a Cain and Abel, good and evil type thing. And then one tries to kill the other one. And in the Bible, Cain tried to kill Abel. Anyway, I won't go too deep into it.
I've asked that question and I don't know anything about the Bible and I don't know anything about Lord of the Rings.
That's why, like, I could literally say anything and you're like, sure. Yeah.
No, I do.
Look, I don't claim to be any genius on the Bible, but I do know that there's heavy links, especially with Disney.
Okay. Well, I never would have put them two together. I'm not going to lie to you. But you learn something new every day. You do.
Well, why else do you think you like them?
Disney?
Yeah.
It's... Oh, there's so many reasons. I think, for me, I love music. The music's very clever. Also, it stems back to childhood memories. And
yeah, it's very nostalgic.
Things like even our senses, our sight, smell, hearing music, links to memories. And I just remember growing up watching Disney movies on VHS. We actually had to stop, pause, rewind, fast forward the the ads at the beginning. And that's what our weekends were made up of, watching Disney movies, because there was no iPads, there was no Netflix, no DVDs.
I remember that when you used to watch a video and you couldn't actually watch it again until you rewinded it all the way back
to the beginning. Or you started watching a Disney movie and then, I don't know, you didn't have time to finish the rest. And then you had to put it back on. It's like, oh, and if it had gone someplace, it's like, where was I up to? I can't remember. And so for me, Disney has very fond memories from my childhood. And I actually remember I would have been 5, I think, when The Lion King came out. And I remember that's probably, I reckon, the earliest memory of going to the movies, going and seeing The Lion King. And I was just in awe of the and the animation. I mean,
so it's nostalgic for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
You feel the same, Kim? Is it nostalgic for you?
I do. Certain movies definitely do remind me of like things I used to watch with my sister, and like, because we used to argue all the time because she was a bit of a tomboy and I was like a really girly girl, and she'd want to watch like...
Wait, you're the girly girl of your siblings?
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
It's almost like I'm you and you're your sister.
Well,
like...
actually, look, as growing up, definitely 100%, but like she'd have mask of bedding and I'd have like My Little Pony or something like...
How does it go?
But,
My Little Pony.
But Disney, I like the messages that they're putting out with it. Like, I do like even that new Luca one where it's like about sea monsters and accepting everyone for who they are and stuff. Like, I do think that they're very clever in the way they do things. Like that, what's the one that's about emotions that we was talking about?
Oh, Inside Out?
Inside
Yeah,
Out.
that's
it's
amazing.
unreal. Like,
my
that is
favourite
like the concept of everything that I would want to taught in schools and things like that. I think it's amazing that they've like brought something out that's that relatable to the kids and that educational.
Yeah.
I do.
And ultimately, it makes you feel good.
Yeah.
And what does Gabby Bernstein say? It's good to feel good.
But I think it feels good because it has meaning behind it that you resonate with.
Absolutely.
That's the good feeling. Like I can actually apply something I've learned from this to my life to actually feel good.
Yeah.
Better. So it's inspiring almost, right?
It is. And as well, you know, as a kid going to Disneyland for the first time, it's
They've created a whole
They've
fantasy
created
world, haven't
this
they? Like,
amazing
it's like an
fantasy.
empire.
Even as a child, if I went to Disney, I have been there before, but even going now, I'd love it. Like, it's just such
adults too, so anybody.
Yeah.
Please, I would love to just go to the next suburb right now.
Yeah.
That's true.
Sucks to be you.
I just want to leave the state. Get to Perth would be like one thing.
So Kim, tell us about this. It was a little product placement here. This is your candle.
I didn't realise that was there.
How did this get here? Did you put this here?
I don't know.
Where's the lighter? Let's light it.
Yeah.
Oh, this is
one
beautiful.
I prepared earlier.
So how does it work?
good.
Do you before you light? Do you manifest something like what do you do?
See, that is us in a nutshell. I'm like, no, you're going to manifest, do you this? You're going, do you pray? It's just so us.
I imagine we pray to. Is it Elsa? Who's the character
we
from
don't pray
Frozen?
to Elsa.
Is that the character
It's
from
Queen
Frozen?
Elsa.
I don't even like Frozen that much, but now I feel like I've got to stick up for her because
I haven't seen Frozen. Go.
Yeah.
We need to have a
let's
Frozen
light
night.
it.
I mean,
let's
that's
get it
what I
going.
must say. What I've loved in lockdown, having movie nights with you guys.
Yeah, when we
And
finally decide on one.
watching some random
Usually
movies.
we sit there for an hour. Go. What do we want to watch?
I know,
Let's
that's
just go
true.
to bed.
Is that in the? Is that
You need the
Right
logo
on my fake
at the
candle.
front. Yes,
right there?
There we go.
Beautiful.
My fake, not
do you
candle,
wanna
my
see?
fake
We've
flower.
got these beautiful crystals and rose petals. I don't know if you can see.
Infused with Reiki energy.
Yeah.
So what's going on here? What's inspired you to create this? You created the candle from scratch, or
Yes.
what?
So all of my friends are really entrepreneurial. And after I started like my spiritual Reiki kind of business, I really wanted something because I wasn't taking that many clients a week, obviously, because I was still doing my full-time job. And I really wanted my clients to have some kind of assistance with the healing. And I feel like sometimes when you're not, because most of the people that were coming to see me were just stepping into the spirituality, like they weren't aware of what kind of meditations they like or where to go or things like that. So it does feel like a chore when you're looking at through YouTube and you're like trying to find something that resonates, you know, with meditations and stuff, or even with anything like that when you're new to it. So I'd make sure I had my little bookcase out and I'd give everyone books after the sessions to bring back. And
What is Reiki? Can you just tell us what that is real quick?
it's basically like a balance of the spiritual self. It could be because of things you've not said or things you've experienced and not processed, or things that you've experienced and you can't process because you don't understand it enough. and you don't understand how much of an impact it's actually had on you, but it just stores in your energetic field. So it's just kind of people say it's like a healing. I mean, I don't want to sound like Jesus, but it is definitely I want to say cleanse and a balance, because it's not just like you'll have one session, it's like, oh, you are healed. It's like, it's a continuous process.
Miracle in that
Yeah,
sense.
no.
Yeah. So what actually happens in the session? So you're a Reiki practitioner, right?
Yes.
Is that what you would call yourself? So your client comes to you, and what happens? They talk to you, or do they just lie there and get...
I like to talk afterwards, because I feel some people might not want to. That's why they've chose Reiki, because it's they can talk, but it's quite a like silent and still practice.
Right.
I feel like if they wanted to, they can obviously afterwards, but if not, it doesn't have to be a spoken, like, tell me all about your life if they don't feel comfortable with it. Whether they tell me or not, the energy's still doing its thing anyway. So afterwards, I'll speak about what they experience, what I experience, the colours and things like that. And I'll say like, oh, a lot of green came up for me. Like, did you experience the green? And I'll say it first, so then they don't feel like I'm just copying what they say. And then I'll say, oh, well, that's connected to this and this and this. And leave the space open for them. Like, if they want to be like, oh, well, actually, I'm going through this at the moment, then we can have a bit of a debrief afterwards. But some people just want me to send the information and deal with it in their own time and message me when they're ready. So it's kind of a real individual practice for everyone. Like, people say to me, can I come? What happens? And I'm just like, sorry, can't tell you. Like, it's not a secret, but it's just different for everyone. It's
their personal journey too, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you act as almost like it's like a channel, right?
Yeah,
like
that's exactly
like
what I'm doing.
Yeah. So you give them a space that they can kind of explore certain parts of the energy fields that haven't been tapped into, or there's stored negative energy. And is that
it doesn't even need to be negative. It could literally be experiences from like birth or like childhood, or things that, you know, arguments, things that have not been said, just things that haven't been expressed or dealt with. It literally could be, I didn't say something to my boss that I wanted to say, and that's just stored in the throat. And it's could be as simple as not being your authentic self, and that projection of what you're actually showing instead of being that authentic self that you are, then creates these kind of blocks and these like,
Have you? So does this actually link in with like bodily pains as well? You mentioned there's something in your throat and it's linked to maybe I didn't say something to my boss. Is that what you mean? Like, because I've had experiences like that too, where I feel like I've literally had that lump in my throat. This was a few years ago now, and you know, my counselor actually told me this. It wasn't a Reiki practitioner or anything. You know, it was a normal conventional counselor. He said, "Oh, you know, maybe there's something that's been unsaid to like a past relationship or something like that." And it wasn't until I actually faced that head on, and then it took, you know, it takes time. It didn't happen overnight, but then slowly the feeling of the lump, because I actually went to like a proper like, you know, doctor and everything I had to swallow this disgusting like it was like this clay stuff and stand in this X-ray thing to see if because I felt it. I literally felt this lump, and every time I was struggling to breathe a lot. And it turns out it was to do with anxiety and all this stuff, but there was also a spiritual aspect, which, well, I guess you could call it spiritual, because like part of me felt like I didn't do the right thing in a certain situation. Yeah. So I had to like, you know.
So you're holding on to the emotion as well as the physical sense. It's like everything's connected. Everything is connected. So if you've got a pain in, like, it's funny because all my friends laugh obviously, because they'll be like, oh, I've got a pain in my right elbow, and I'm like, oh, I wonder what that means. Let me Google it. I need to know what that means spiritually, because I just feel like everything is connected. It doesn't matter whether you believe in it or not. Like, you'll have a certain ache or pain that's just come from nowhere. Yeah, it might be that you've slept funny, but if you actually look into it, I bet you any money it resonates. Like, simple Google, what does this mean? It'll literally come up with, well, the right knee is about this and about this, and it's like, well, does this resonate? And they're always like, yeah. It's like,
is there a link there with Chinese medicine, traditional Chinese medicine? Because I saw some of those practitioners last year, and there was all these beliefs around, like, if you have itchy skin, for example, it's like an itch in life, you know, like I'm in a spot that I'm not comfortable with, so then you actually manifest like
They have the same concepts, but Reiki's Japanese.
But that's
Reiki's
like
Japanese.
acupuncture as well comes in Chinese medicine. Like
because you did a bit of study on Reiki as well, didn't you?
Yes. Yeah, Kim was my inspiration. I had a couple of sessions with Kim, and I can vouch that, oh my gosh, amazing. But as well as being on the other end, and Kim doing a bit of Reiki on me, I just found to each session, you feel so different. Like it feels, I remember once, I think I could have just fallen asleep. And then I think the session, maybe a week or two later you did on me, I jumped up off the table with so much energy. I was just like, okay, like I think it was a Sunday.
Take on the day.
It was
like
a Sunday night and I was just buzzing. So you feel so different.
And that's the thing, you literally can't tell.
Even having a regular Reiki session, you just feel different each time.
Because you're not consciously choosing how you're processing things. It's like your subconscious that will be implementing all the changes, and you just never know. That's what I love about it. Because I'll be speaking to one client who's like there's one client that I have when my hands are on her. She has a physical, like her body starts to like shake or move almost. Not to the point where it's like she's shaking off the bed, but she'll be like having a physical reaction to the energy when my hands are on her. And then I'll have someone else who I don't feel or see any colours myself, and I'm like, oh shit. I'm like, is she okay? But afterwards she's like, oh my God, this happened and this happened and this happened. So it's just amazing.
It sounds amazing.
Awesome. But what I think's amazing about it too, like you lose concept of time. So like I remember a session with you, it felt like 10 or 15 minutes. And then I was like, how long was that? And you're like, oh, an hour and 20 or something. I was like, what? And like I've gone from somebody who can't sit still, and I guess lockdown has really helped me to, like I was saying before, sit in stillness and silence. And before COVID, there's no way I could have just laid on a Reiki table without getting fidgety.
Yeah, getting bones start cracking, and you're like, oh, when's she going to be finished?
Exactly. But it literally felt like it went for 10 minutes, and you're like, okay, like when you're ready, you can get up. I was like, what? Is that right? And it was just, it was dark outside all of a sudden, and you lose concept of time. It's just always like an out-of-body experience.
It's called flow. It's a psychological state. Yeah, like being in the zone. It's a heavily researched state you can get yourself in where you lose track of mind, and there's incredible evidence that backs up the benefits of, and the health benefits, the growth benefits of that. It's like that alone, probably just being in a flow state more frequently in a healthy one. I mean, you can get there in unhealthy ways too with drugs and all that, but like healthy states of flow is just like so good for you and your mental and physical health. So that's what's going on upstairs when there's silence for like over an hour. I'm like, I wonder if they're alive up there.
They must be out because
they're either not home or...
Yeah, like at what point do I go up and go, have you like Reiki'd yourself to another life? Or
are you still in this dimension?
Yeah, Brendon lives in a very quiet household.
Yeah, I was going to say that. So like two ends of the spectrum is like we're usually like dancing or singing or screaming all the next minute.
Some context, I had to turn all the levels of the microphones down a bit so they wouldn't clip with these two. So tell me, girls, what's been the biggest challenge you've had throughout the last, say, 4 months with the lockdown?
As in internally or in the living situation?
Well, in the last 4 months, we've been in a lockdown. So that challenges everybody on very many different levels. So it's open to your interpretation.
That's a broad question, though. Okay.
It's so Kim, though, to overanalyze that question before answering it. It's like, in what context?
I need more...
Tell me why you're miserable.
I'm not miserable. Tell me why you're so loud.
Okay, so put it this way.
So many elements to this question.
I need some more wine before we answer this question, I think.
All right, so we've been in a lockdown for the last 4 months. And now when you look back on it, it's like, okay, we're out of it. That was rough. We have very short attention spans. Not attention spans, memory banks. So you're actually more often to feel what you're feeling right now. Like, and you remember things, but you don't feel what
you don't remember how you felt when it was.
Well, you don't. So what I'm trying to say is, we've been through 4 months of lockdown, but most of that you didn't know when we're getting out of lockdown.
That was the toughest, I think, the unknown of when it was going to end. Once we had the date, or not even a date for me to go home. Once we had a date, or in fact, once we had a little bit of a change of tone in the, because I know that you two weren't as obsessed with all the like.
Politics?
No, well, obviously the politics, but the media of it, the coverage of it, the 11 o'clock speeches or whatever they're called. Like, I obviously was immersed in it because of work and working in childcare and stuff, but it was just so dark and like dun 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 every day. Like, there's been this many deaths, we're never going to get out, vaccination. It's just like, when there was a slight change of tone in what was happening and like the announcement, it was like, wait,
There's
things
a light.
getting better now.
Light
like
at the end of the tunnel.
yeah.
I felt like the goalpost kept moving because it was, what was it? First it was 2 weeks, and it was 4 weeks, and then they extended it to another 4 weeks. And I just felt like you kind of that little hope, and then the goalposts move again. So I think after that kept changing, I think the first few times it was just like, okay, we're in this for the long haul.
Yeah.
So the mindset changed a little bit. So for me, what I missed initially the most was going to my yoga studio. Like I was doing yoga in my room, which is still good to do yoga, but it's just you don't have that community.
It's not the same.
It's not the same.
Yeah.
I didn't enjoy doing yoga at home. I miss breakfast dates.
Coffee dates, going
out and getting drunk. I'm sorry, I'm saying it. I did. I missed it. I missed dancing.
That was your idea with the wine, but
The generation gap here, like for me, I miss having breakfast on a Sunday morning and coffee out of a
me
ceramic
too.
cup.
Me too. But to discuss the
Kimberly.
night before.
to discuss how much of an idiot I was.
Yeah, no, trust me, those nights are fun too. But
Yeah.
So it sounds like you guys missed kind of just some normality. Like it
Social
wasn't anything
interaction.
extreme. It was just it's almost like the normalities that you took for granted before, and
100%,
because
yeah.
things were constantly, the goalposts were constantly moving back. You thought it was 2 weeks, and that's all right, I can handle that. But then it moved to 4. It's like, oh, this is getting a bit worrisome, and then 2 months, and then are we ever going to get out of this?
that
And then
was
you
it.
start realizing, I just want to go for coffee with my friends.
And that's the way. I think that was actually the hardest part. The fact that my best mate, lives 7-minute drive away, and she was classed as an area of concern for weeks and weeks and weeks on end. And I couldn't see her, and I was just like, we had such a nice routine, which, going to see the sunrise, going to do this, going to do that, and I couldn't even do that. And I was like, she's literally on the other side of the road. Like, that was the hardest part for me. The fact that like people were so close, but it was such a. I mean, you know what I was like? I was like, I can't even go to that side of the road because I was so scared of breaking the rules. And I don't know, it feels
Do you
so
still
crazy
feel
now.
that scared feeling? Like, even though the freedom has been lifted, do you still feel like a bit like weird when you're at a cafe or something like that?
I don't feel
or
weird at a
being so-
cafe.
in a
I
social
did
group?
feel weird at the races.
Yeah, you went to the
I
races.
went to the races, and it did take me a while to. And most of the people that I was with there, I'd met before and things, and I'm obviously not shy. Like I am an extrovert, I reckon. But I struggled. But like, even my friend Alice was like, "You need to relax," and I just couldn't. Like, I didn't know what to talk to people about. I was like, I felt fat because everybody had lost so much weight and they'd been doing all this work in like. I was doing this work and they was doing. Well, I was working out a lot as well, but mine was more of a mental shift. Whereas there was so many people there that had just gone from like unhealthy to this like dream body, and there was just so many thoughts around my head that I was just like, are people judging me? What do I talk about? And it just turned into this like.
That sounds like social anxiety.
Yeah.
And what's a concern, I think, is like the kids growing up at school. Like
Yes.
that's when they're learning so many different areas, not just in schooling and academic, but social interaction. So being 4 months at home, being homeschooled,
Yeah.
they're missing that interaction, hanging out with their friends in the playground or in their classroom interaction or with the teaching, teaching in the classroom. And I mean, for us, we notice a difference too, just going out and feeling a bit strange. Like for them, that's a prime growth spurt for them, for their learning. And you wonder what the effects are going to have later on.
I will say this though, I do think obviously it has had a lot of negative effects on like the social side, but now seeing the schools go back and actually being around my kids again, which has been amazing. There's also so many good changes, like the fact that the kids would come and they'd be like, oh, I'm bored, I want to play on my laptop, on Chromebook, or whatever they say, like, can we go on this, can we do that, like dragging the feet. And now they're so excited about just doing the smallest of things, like we've got a little foosball table and all the like they just love it, like the social interactions of kids that would moan about coming to my childcare sorry, I won't mention the thing, my childcare centre after school, instead of going home because they couldn't play on Fortnite and like whatever they were playing, they wanted to choose that, and now they're not. Like the kids that would moan about that are now saying, can I go to whatever?
So you think there's an organic thing that's come out of them that's gone almost the other way than we typically think kids, because most kids would choose the video game over the playing with their friends in a park or whatever. But you're saying it's actually switched with your kids.
I do.
Wow, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
So actually, from all levels, like kids or even us, we just have lacked the social interaction.
Mm-hmm.
I think
What do you reckon it is though? Like, what is it about a social interaction that's so powerful? Because you're able to socialize through FaceTime and all that. Like, why in person is it so different?
Energy.
Yeah, it's being a part of the
community.
I should have expected that answer from a Reiki practitioner.
All about energy, baby.
Energy.
All about energy. But like, also, just the understanding from someone. Like when you sat with someone, and you're having a conversation. Energetically, you can feel like the compassion for, like the compassion that they're showing to you, and you know, so when someone's really actively listening and stuff, it's just not, you can't get that over the screen.
It's a dance.
Yeah.
I think it is.
Yeah.
I think when you're physically, you know, with someone in a conversation or an interaction or something, there's got to be something to do with like energy, as you say, or I mean that's how, like you say, like being 1.5 meters close to someone, you're more likely to get the virus because it's like you're close enough to exchange something with them.
Yeah.
But what you also have is an exchange of energy that could
100%.
be positive, and actually that's the way we
Yeah.
reproduce and procreate.
Yeah.
So, you know, there's something there's a lot of very beneficial things that happen when we're close to each other, and I think it is like it's like an orchestrated dance when you have this great conversation with someone. This is why I love podcasting so much, because you get in this state where, well, I mean, I get in flow states when we're here because I don't think about anything else. This is it.
Yeah.
And there's something so different about that. And this is actually kind of cool that this is my first one where I've done it in person.
Live.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, you're welcome. With the VIPs today.
Now, about my fee.
The wine is my food. Cheers.
And all Brendon's
Cheers.
wonderful new equipment too. We're testing out tonight.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right. You're my guinea
Cheers.
pigs.
We've literally got every light, every microphone. It looks
looks
amazing
like
though. I'm very, very proud of you.
A
Thank you.
TV
I am
series
very
happening
proud,
here. Our lounge room's been transformed. It's pretty cool.
This is not a lounge room. This is a studio. What are you
what?
talking
I mean, sorry,
about?
studio.
No, I feel like you've even come a long way in your lockdown period. I don't know what your like pit and peak would be, but just the way, how far you've come with your podcast and your practice and the things that you're doing like for your business, it's just been amazing, especially in the past like month. Like, I'm very, very proud of you.
Thanks, Kim.
See, if I would have said that on Zoom, you wouldn't have felt that, you know?
No, I wouldn't
Felt
have.
the
I
energy
wouldn't
in the
have.
room. Just
I would
being
have
the
been
observer.
worried that you were on Fortnite and one of you at the window as well.
Or watching Elsa in the corner.
No, look, yeah, I do appreciate that. It's been something that, you know, like I'm really in tune with myself these days. I don't know how else to put it, where I've had a lot of years where I wasn't. And so now if like something makes me feel really good in an organic way, then I'm like, I've got to double down on it.
Yeah.
You know, I do a lot of other things and yeah, like being sort of entrepreneurial, like you have to try lots of different things, and sometimes they work and sometimes they don't, and sometimes they really work.
Sometimes they just work for a little bit, then you have to keep like moving
Well, that's
on.
it, yeah. And so this to me, like at the moment, feels good for me. And to be honest, sometimes, you know, maybe only a couple of people listen, but sometimes, you know, my poker ones often get a lot of hits. So like I know that like even if a couple of people get benefit from doing it,
Yeah.
At the moment anyway, I mean, look, who knows where it's going to go.
With us on it, it's going to be woof, woof. No, but I think you are right.
Joe Rogan, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. I think you're right in the sense of like, if you're helping one person, it genuinely doesn't matter whether you get fame and your name out there and stuff. It literally is about getting and connecting with the people who resonate with what you're saying. And it doesn't matter whether that's one person or 20 people or 100 people.
It's making
like,
that difference.
Yeah.
Like positive difference, like you said, whether it's one or, and it's contagious.
Yeah.
You know, it's just people vibe off it.
Yeah, I could think how many times you come to us and said, I've listened to this and da-da-da.
Oh my
and you
gosh,
just
it's
feed
like
each
my-
other with like the things that you listen to and things
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah, when you
and
pass
just want
on
to
the-
share
yeah.
it, and it's just like, and I was like saying to you guys during lockdown, because if I watch a good movie or read a good book, and I'm always like, I just want to tell everybody. So
Excuse me!
like, literally, I'd be like the same concept. So I just read this book, and I was yeah. So
Yeah,
you just want to share
I
it.
love that when you bring something to someone else and like you're so passionate about it, you just want to
Yeah.
share it because it serves such a benefit to you. I remember taking a friend to the sunrise once, and this person hadn't seen the sunrise before,
What?
and
Ever?
they were like, I've
Very
never gotten
magic.
up this early, and so I was like,
Do we know this person?
yeah.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
like, you know, she's
Yeah,
been
yeah,
around
yeah.
here before. Yeah, we went to see the sunrise, and it was just like, I introduced that to her.
And it's so beautiful because I introduced that to her.
Exactly.
pass
That
that
I
on.
created
You
the
are
sunsetting.
welcome.
That's right.
So
yeah.
she might pass it on to somebody else, and then you spread that.
Joy.
Yeah. It's about, passing on what feels good, I think, and planting that seed.
I was just like, yeah, we'll come back in 12 hours and you'll see what else I created. It's
The
called...
sunset.
That's right.
So now you're Jesus too. I'm a healer,
I'm not
you're a
claiming
healer.
that. You said that, not me.
Your words.
Jesus, if you're listening, that wasn't me.
I'll take the blame.
Okay, so we've talked about what your biggest challenges might have been throughout lockdown, and what do you think your biggest successes have been? What do you think you're really happy about? Or maybe it's just like something that naturally occurred for both of you.
Can I carry on from your challenges to complement with your success?
Well, I don't
After
really
your
know how
story?
to word my success. I'm a private person.
Was there a breakthrough?
Okay, what does Oprah call it? An aha moment.
Yeah, there have been many breakthrough moments. I think I learned to set boundaries without feeling bad about it. Like, I mean, in a sense of, in lockdown, everybody kind of feels that alone and everybody needs that support. But I think I seen it as an opportunity to say, like, I'm sorry, but I can't hold that space for you at this moment in time, because I was just dealing with my own version of what was going on. And before that, I would have always been like available and, oh, I'm so sorry you're sad and da-da-da. But this time I was just like, I'm sorry that you're going through that, and like, I will be there for you, but at this moment in time, like, I'm trying to get myself through it. Like, I'm only just holding on myself. And I think that was a really important part of my life, to be like, it's actually okay to do that if you're doing it with empathy and you're doing it with kindness, because you can't pour from an empty cup. You know what I mean? Whereas before I would have people pleased and I would have give the tiny bit that I had left in my cup to everyone else, and then been even more deflated and even more down. But ever since then, and realizing how, like, it is scary when you do it, but the benefits of setting that boundary and what happens afterwards, I think that's something that's been my, like, peak that I've carried
So what
with
have
me.
you found that happens when you do that? When you, like, when you're in those moments when you're feeling like kind of like, you know, your cup's like really low, and you set that boundary, what happens? What's the benefit you're talking about?
The benefit is you find that self-worth in yourself, knowing that you have to put yourself first. It's like doing the work without doing the work. It's like just by making that one decision of, I'm sorry, but I have to come first. I used to think it was selfish. I used to think it was like, well, you're a bad friend. Someone needs you. You know, you can't turn your back on someone, which I never would anyway. I think there's a difference between, like, setting a boundary and saying, I haven't got the space tonight, I'm having a bath and I'm reading a book, to fuck off, like, or blanking someone or whatever. There's a huge difference. And I think that's what I learned, what I hold for myself, that, like, actually I'm worthy of holding space for myself before anyone else, because, you know.
But you can't give away what you don't have.
Exactly.
So,
I mean, you can, but you end up with, like, minus, you know. It's like,
yeah,
you're not actually helping anyone if you're not there yourself. So yeah, that's been the biggest takeaway for me that I've actually implemented afterwards now as well.
Is that new wisdom to you, or is it something that's just really stood out right now?
Look, it's wisdom that I knew deep down, but didn't implement myself. Like, it's things that I would give people advice on, but never really had it as part of something that I'd actively done. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Which is a bit hypocritical, but it's easy to give anyone advice on things that you think you're knowledgeable in. But it's like when I tell everyone to meditate every day 15 minutes. No. I don't meditate every day for 15 minutes. And I should. I know the knowledge. I've got the tools. But it just, there's always that aha moment, like Michelle said, where you're like, right, well, I did do that and it did make a difference. And, you know, practice what you preach.
Yeah, that's actually here's another biblical one for you.
Oh God!
It's called the Solomon syndrome. So King Solomon used to do that. He used to tell everyone what to do, but he was horrible at doing it himself. Yeah, that's interesting. So what about you, Michelle? What's been your biggest, like, breakthrough success or, like, positive outcome of this lockdown?
I think I'll start with challenge first, because I think from your greatest challenge comes your greatest success. So For me, like, I think
it sounds like I should have like a, you know,
slogan.
Like, you know, in like either a meme or, or a, you know,
what comes from, like, you know, your little face.
Because I think too, it makes you appreciate things more when you're faced with challenges, and it's learning to live in the present moment. And like I was saying to you before, it was like I was living 8-week rosters at a time. And always looking ahead, always looking at the future, but never actually really appreciating the now.
Yeah.
And the future always will remain the future because it eventually becomes the present. So...
Well, there's no such thing as future, is it? It's literally...
Yeah. Well, there is such thing as future, but when it eventually comes into the now, it's no
present.
longer the future, it's the present.
Yeah.
So...
You're blowing my mind.
So my greatest challenge was... learning stillness and learning to slow down, and living a more slow-paced life for me was a lot harder than living a fast-paced life.
Yeah, because you start to feel lazy.
You
lazy
start
when
to
you're
feel
so used to the
lazy,
hustle. Yeah.
guilty.
Yeah.
I should be doing this.
So true.
Your mental to-do list starts to take off.
Yeah.
And that's where, like I said, meditation and yoga really helped me. So that was probably a challenge for me, living a different lifestyle, learning to slow down. But then that became my greatest success as well, because I was able to appreciate the little things. I was able to be like, okay, well, like I went for a walk around Centennial Park today, and it was just such a beautiful day. Now the weather's getting a little bit warmer, and I think before I just wouldn't have noticed it. It would have been there, but
Just
I would
to
have
fit the walk in.
I would have looked straight past it. And
Yeah.
now it's just like, wow, I'm so lucky. And being so grateful for the littlest of things. So I think for me, my greatest success is having a completely new perspective and new outlook on life. And I think that's what I'm going to take from COVID.
So that there's a portal that's been opened in your mind.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, because, I mean, all my family are interstate, mainly in Adelaide. So, and just forming, you know, more connections to friends and family over the phone, making that effort to pick up the phone and make a phone call rather than just rely on social media or a text and be like, look, I haven't heard from this person for so long. I'm just going to ring and check in to see how they are. And I think too, even before COVID, I might have not seen certain friends or family for so long because life just got busy. But I would have not forgotten about them, but wouldn't have made the effort to pick up the phone and check in. And I think it's just gone back to basics, I guess. And I mean, not too basic as back into landlines, but, you know,
knocking on someone
or dial-up
Do you
internet.
ever feel like, because you're Greek, right? So
Yeah,
I just have
I'm
to
half
ask,
Greek,
like, do you feel like if you call someone up, it's like you have to take out like 2 hours of your day to make that because you know that conversation's going to go forever?
That's what gives me the anxiety about
I
phone
have that
calls.
anxiety too. I'm like, I
that-
don't want to call someone because
Just wanna have a
I've
quick
only got
catch
10
up,
minutes. Yeah.
I just want to say, how are you? What you doing? Love you. Thinking of you. Bye.
Yeah.
You know, it's saying, I mean, I've even got some friends like that, and I know I'm the same as well. Like, there's some friends that will just be on the phone and be like, or we'll have a virtual wine day, or
Yeah, I
we'll
think it's
just
different.
We just get creative, I think, and yeah, just little things like I had the most beautiful care packages sent from a friend in Perth and a friend in Adelaide, just to say, just thinking of you, and use the old-fashioned snail mail.
See, that's cute.
And get a parcel. Like my friend in Adelaide sent me this big package of things that will remind me of Adelaide. Like for those Adelaide listeners, like fruit chocks, which are like these apricot balls coated in chocolate.
They sound horrible.
Yeah, I was going to say, ew.
Haze chocolate.
What else weird things are you guys
All
doing
these
down there in
weird
Adelaide?
stuff. So
did you leave
actually, I
Adelaide
think it's
because of this
still
stuff?
upstairs. I'll pack
This
them
is the
away
reason
from you.
she's here.
Yeah, so just little things like that. I mean, if it wasn't for COVID, we wouldn't be sending packages to friends to say, just thinking of you, this is to remind you of Adelaide. Like,
I think that's really cool. My sister actually started sending handwritten letters to my niece. My niece is only 8, and you know she wanted to like give her that, because she's 8 years old. I mean, she would have she's never lived in a time. I mean, I've barely lived in a time where you handwrite a letter to someone. So she's trying to like get that organic And there's something about the pen to paper thing that's
I
just
have to agree
different
with
and more
that.
personable, isn't it?
Yeah.
And doing that, I
text
didn't realise
message or
how
a
bad
GIF.
my spelling was, though, to be
Oh,
honest.
God.
Because you
I might
get
I might have the wisdom, but I've not got the grammar. I've not got the. I'm from England and I can't even speak English.
we rely
Like,
on
what's
spell
word?
check and autocorrect, and then when you're handwriting, it's like, oh, like she questioned it.
Yeah, I think nowadays there's no excuse to have a spelling error in a text message, right? If you've got
Unless you've not got your
autocorrect.
glasses on like me, because sometimes I'm just like and send, and then I look afterwards and I'm like,
That
What?
makes a lot of sense from your text messages.
I do it
to
with my
me.
emails and everything. I'm trying to be really professional, not at work, but my own professional, like to immigration officers or whatever. And then I look back the next day when I've got my glasses on and I'm like, oh my God, I don't even know what she's thinking about me. Like every single other word is like, got a spelling mistake. I'm just guessing.
I think it sounds right, but the English language is a bit like, to learn it, I think, as a second language would be really hard because
Yeah.
all the grammars and the exceptions to the rule, like
There's a rule,
Yeah,
there's an
it's
exception
hard.
to the rule. There's
It
three
just-
options for the rule.
it reminds me of He's Just Not That Into You as well, you know,
Cracker.
the exceptions. Say
Cracker
the
of a
exceptions to the rule. She's the rule, but she's the exception.
Look, on that note, given that we're into talking about rom-coms, I think we should wrap this up. So, as much as I'd love to continue talking
Not
about
your
rom-coms.
favourite topic, is it, my friend?
Look, no. I'll just put it there, out there.
N-O?
No.
No.
So, girls, thanks for being here.
You're welcome.
I
We
really
live here.
enjoyed this.
I mean,
we
we
travelled
don't-
so far to be here today.
Where can we find these candles if anyone wants to buy one?
At Soul Guidance by Kimberly on Instagram. And
Could you say that slowly and spell
sorry,
it out
I'm
for us?
sorry, that was very fast in English. At Soul Guidance by Kimberly.
At Soul Guidance by Kimberly.
Is the link going to be
It's
below?
not at, it's Ambus at. Instagram,
The @
Soul
sign.
Guidance by Kimberly. You'll find
Are
it.
you going to attach
We'll
the
put
link,
it in the
mate?
show notes.
Yeah, show notes.
And you can buy a candle, and you can also book in for a Reiki lesson.
What?
know.
Session.
Session. There you
They're
go.
piano lessons, Reiki sessions.
Yeah.
Now, what last bit of wisdom would you guys like to leave with our fellow listeners?
Communication is key. Knowledge is power. My mum used to say, drugs are for mugs. Beauty is within. Nah, this is all things my mum used to say growing up. But I think that my key message would be do the work and then allow yourself the space to implement the work that you've done. I think that's, as a Reiki practitioner, that would be my key message. Like, don't beat yourself up about not being on track all the time, because it's a dance, like you said, and it's a do the work and then have a break and implement it and then learn your next lessons and yeah, don't be so hard on yourself.
Nice. I love it. What about you, Michelle?
Like that. I think just don't take life so goddamn seriously.
Yeah, amen, sister.
Just, it's the simple pleasures, the little things. I mean,
The wine.
Yeah, just like I said before, present moment, live with gratitude. I think that's one thing I actually started during lockdown, was have a gratitude journal. Write 3 things before I go to bed in my journal. Hand write, pen to paper.
Some
What I'm
spelling
gra-
mistakes, but
yes,
we're
some
not.
spelling mistakes. What I'm grateful for.
Could we
and
put
just-
this in your Tinder profile as well? It's like
I
the,
bake, I'm grateful.
every night I say that I'm grateful for 3 things, and I write it down.
Pen to paper.
And I prayed
in a
to
pink
Elsa.
glitter pen.
Oh, stop it.
On that note,
Thank you for having
Okay.
us.
Thank
well
you so
done.
much.
Congratulations with your podcast.
Yeah, and inviting us into your beautiful studio.
And I
No
have to say,
worries.
next time, this has been very, very wholesome for us. I think next time we do shots and we get really drunk, and then we'd show that side of us too, because I feel like we've got.
We're very
Two.
versatile.
We
because
are,
We
we
haven't
are.
mentioned
the
we've
podcast to an explicit
Yes.
platform.
I swore a few times, but that's not really a lot for me. But this has been very wholesome, very spiritual, very energetically charged. I think the next one should be a little bit.
What makes you think you're getting an invite onto another?
Oh, I love it how
I
she's
live with
always
you.
like,
I'll just make it happen.
"Can't you?" But we're very versatile because we've also had jam sessions where Brendon's been on the guitar and we've been singing along, and then we have the deep and meaningful conversations, and then we'll have board
Sex talk.
and then board game nights
Yeah.
and movie nights. So yeah,
We
we've
had
done
it
a lot
all.
together.
Did you guys want to let everyone know as a final note who won The last board
Oh,
game
okay.
night.
So we did
Absolutely
play
not.
Harry Potter Cluedo.
I don't even know Harry Potter.
I hadn't played Cluedo since I was
Brendon,
little.
no, but, no, you didn't win.
Brendon had a bit of luck.
You
Luck.
thought you did because everything was still laid out the day.
You do
a
know
week
that I
after?
played a professional game for a living, right? And you're calling this luck.
No, it was luck though, because basically for Cluedo you have to work out who killed who with what
And where
and blah 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 blah. So you've got to like narrow it down. So Brendon, you even admitted that a couple of them you weren't too sure on, and that you just made
I'll
a
turn this thing
bit
off.
of a hunch.
Thank you and good night. Thank you for coming.
But yes, Brendon did win, but there was a bit of luck involved too.
Don't worry, I can cut that last bit out. Brendon won. All right, ladies. Thank you.
Thank you for having us. Thank you.